We're going to look into the enemy movement code a little bit. I haven't looked at this stuff at all. I don't know how easy or difficult it's going to be. But we'll take a look. And we're going to start off here with this worm. You know, the worm's got a couple of behaviors. It will chase you, it'll follow you, go in the same direction that you're going. And it will jump. So it'll jump over small objects to get to you if it falls into the lava there. For example, it'll jump out. If I move over, it's gonna chase, I think. So let's take a look into it. I don't know where the best place to start is, but I think we'll just start looking at the whatever code updates the velocity for any object. So if we look at that over a couple of frames, we'll have to sort out. Oh, jumps out of the bed at us. We'll have to sort out the updates for JSON for the tank, but we should be able to find those of the worm also, and then we can just go from there. So that's the plan. Let's try it. I'm just getting my windows situated here. All right, let's take a look. So I already took a trace log of maybe 6 frames and put it into the database tool to make a database from it. So we've got that. So we've got 6 frames, it looks like. 6 complete frames in our database that we can look at. So this is the address that I want to look at for updates. And actually would just want writes to it, I think, not reads. Although I don't know, let's look at reads as well at first, just to see. And then here's one main loop. It starts at record 5887, ends at record 14539. So we want to look at records in between those 2 values. That gives us the length of a full frame. So if we look at that, here's our accesses. A lot of this isn't going to be interesting to us, but some of it will. So there aren't too many, so we can look down the list and just look at all of them. So I've got our database window down at the bottom and then our notepad up at the top. So we'll copy everything into the notepad to make it easier to take notes on it. And we got word wrapping down here so we can look at this. We'll switch back and forth between our notepad and the assembly in that top window, I think. We'll see how that goes. So C84A. This is part of object initialization. This is common to any object. When I say object, I mean any sprite thing, basically. So it'd be like a power-up, enemy, Jason, Sophia. Anything that moves, more or less, is going to be an object in the game. And initialization is something that's common to all of them, not specific to any one. So this isn't going to be what we're interested in. So I'm going to make another list down here, and then I'll hold the ones that are potential points of interest. Actually, let me do like this, just put a minus in front of the ones I know we're not interested in. (8E4E) could be interesting because that is not in bank 7. And a lot of the code in bank 7 isn't specific to any one thing. For example, like most map stuff for any of the levels is not in bank 7, but the code that loads maps is in bank 7. All maps. So 84 looks promising there. Let's set an execution breakpoint. 8E4E. I don't think this is what we're looking for, though. Let's go look at the assembly. That would actually be in bank 6. So this looks like it has to do with the tank movement. The tank is not the worm, so that's probably not what we're looking for. Closing some files here, make it easier to get around. So I don't think that's it. Now we've got D1C1 and D1C6. Those are going to both be back in bank 7. Any address C000 and higher is going to be in bank 7. And these both update the object's velocity. Sorry, update its map position based on velocity, and it's common to, this code's common to all objects. So that's not what we want. Let's skip these loads for right now and only go to the instructions that store data, that write data. And then we'll come back to the loads later. So any access for the right-facing arrow, that writes data. Any access to the left-facing arrow reads the data. So we're just going to look at the ones with the right-facing arrow for now. C84A. Again, common code. Oh, and we already looked at C84A up there. So let's just get all of them out of the way here. Those are actually all the writes, though. So let's go ahead and look at the reads. Here's another one, 95E4. Let's set an execution breakpoint, find out where that is. Bank 6. So we don't have any notes on this code, really. It looks like it has to do with a tank, though. So let's rule it out for the moment. Now let's check out A424. Also in bank 6. This could be it, because I don't see any like tank specific indicators in here. Hi, Murig. You for the chill ASMR? I'll do what I can. How's your night going? Let's go ahead and look at this one too. EDA8. That's going to be in bank 7. That flips the object horizontally when it turns around. Nice. Glad to have that thing behind you, huh? I would think. Is it feeling good? Yeah. That made me pucker a little bit. Hopefully it'll toughen up in the next few hours, in the next day or so. Huh? So we've got one instruction here, one read from the velocity. It looks like it could be related to the worm. We're just going to take a look here. So we've got this record ID for it. So what we're going to do is find all instructions between 100 before and 100 after, and just look at all of them and see what they do. So we can see what subroutine call gets us to that, and what happens after that. So here's our instruction. Let's look at what happens before. However, this all does look tank related still, looking at it more closely now. Did I look at the wrong instruction, perhaps? Oh, it's A424. Have to soak it twice a day. In a salt bath, like an Epsom salt, right? Let's try that again. This looks promising because from what I can see so far, it looks like a lot of the code used to update enemies in general happens right after a bank switch. Like we switch right into a bank and immediately that code deals with the enemies. So that happens pretty close to where our instruction is. This is loading the tank jump state though, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not the worm enemy code, because the worm may react to the tank jump state, like is the tank jumping or not. There's a jump out of here. Looks like a local jump though, so this is probably still all the same routine. Let's see if we can do anything to determine this. Let's see if we can put a no-op in place of this JSR. This is object position update, so it's going to like record new positioning. If we no-op this and it is the worm, then the worm probably won't move or something else will break. But like the rest of movement shouldn't break in that case. So let's try it and see what happens. A490, so this is 3 bytes, 20 F9 F7. We're just going to make those all no ops. Then it skips that whole thing. And let's let the game go for law. Okay, worm disappears. So this is probably our worm update code that we're looking for. No worm. All the worms are gone. Challenger. That's okay, more for me. So that's it. Yeah, that's what we're doing. So just to bring you up to speed, we're trying to... I'm looking into the enemy update code. Specifically, I'm looking into the worms right now. But I'm interested in kind of figuring out where all the enemies' update code is. Like what determines their movement patterns and stuff like that. So that's what we're doing, and I think I found that routine. Oh, yeah. Pretty sure everyone knows that by now. So I commented out a critical subroutine jump in that routine to see if it was going to break, because I wasn't sure it was a worm. And it broke, so it's the worm. So now we can investigate a little bit farther here. A424. So again, we come in here off of a bank switch. Oh, where is it? A424. One 20087. Yep, you got it. Disassembling and then reverse engineering behavior from that. I'm happy to answer any questions at any time. We are friends, kind of. At least acquaintances. A424. E47. Yeah, it's pretty difficult. To be a really good programmer, really good reverse engineer, you have to not care about feeling stupid, because that's a big part of it. But I mean, sometimes you care anyway, so you just have to feel stupid and then keep going, even though you feel stupid. So we're going to label this worm update. Maybe later we'll have a better name for it. So we come here and we start modifying these 0-page addresses, and it looks like we don't have notes on what these things do yet. 424352. Yeah, I think you mentioned that last time you were here and I took a look at it. It looks very interesting. Live 2. These are interesting. We'll look into them. Not right now, though. I don't want to get too distracted by it. But these 4 variables we don't have any notes on. It could be useful to figure out what their purpose is. We're going to play some sort of sound. I could call this music init for initialize, but it's for any sound that plays. So that could be the worm jumping or walking sound. We'll find out soon. And then it moves on to do some stuff with movement. So that's what we're going to look into here. He designed a code base for the extruders. Oh, that's cool for some of the equipment that he uses. Let's figure out what this sound is. Enjoy the lurk. I'll be here for a little bit. We're going to turn the game sound on. I gotta reload the state because I broke the worm. Okay, that's a worm's jumping noise. Worm's got a jumping and walking noise. So we're gonna go in here and no-op this instruction. All these actually. It's not gonna play whatever sound this is, and then we'll determine which one it is. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be one of those 2. So A41C, it should be somewhere around here. Here, I think. No op, so it's going to now skip that part. So let's see what happens. Okay, it's not making the walking noise anymore. Let's put it back and see if it starts making the walking noise. Yes. So that's what that is. So we'll put a comment to that effect here. Play the worm, walking sound. So here's a subroutine. EE47, that's going to be in bank 7. This looks like something to do with map position updating. That result gets stored in hero page 1, which is used for several different things. This could be what calculates the velocity, how fast it's moving. We've got a few more subroutine jumps here. E18B. EDDD. F499. F499 is used, I believe it's used to determine when the flyers are spawning, the ones that drop hover and the areas that they spawn. It's a counter that counts continuously. This could have something to do with determining, randomly determining what they do. So we get through these, what look like velocity calculations, then jump to A495. Then we use 0 page 40 and 41, which we also don't know about. We don't know what's happening there. Then we either, it looks like, leave this routine or jump to this A4, A5 and continue. Let's see what we do in our case. So the bottom window is what actually happened for one frame in the game. And we're going to have to skip all these subroutine calls. So here's A49D. And we return to that at A4AO. Okay, so we do come back from that. And we take that jump so we don't leave the routine here. We keep going through all this stuff. So we keep going, and I think this is the end. Let's extend our record list and their 100 instructions. Print it again. A4B1, so yeah, we take the subroutine. And then yeah, we ultimately jump out of here to F8DF. And that's going to prepare the bank switch for the next thing, whatever it is. Hi, Mishra's. Welcome in, Mishra's Masterpiece. How's your night going? Not as bad as last night's improvement anyway, I guess. So we bank switch and go somewhere else. It's maybe collision detection, I'm not sure. F8EF. Let's just take a look and see. Okay, yeah, I think we're done with the worm stuff, so worm stuff ends here, more or less. A4C9. So we got our work cut out for us here to figure out what all this mess is. So worm mode dates. It starts at A3FF and ends at A4C9. So we got a few pages of code to work out. Here's another thing that probably is easy. This is probably the worm's jump sound. So let's find out. Let's pause the music and go see if we start removing that, if we change that to no ops, will the worm still make a jump sound or not? So that's the standard worm jumping sound. These instructions are around A468. And this is what we want. A9292026EC. So we're going to change all these to no ops. And then we'll unpause the game and see, does it cancel our worm jumping sound? Yeah. No worm jumping sound. So now we know that that's what that is. Oh, you scheduled a job interview tomorrow and they stepped on that? They don't know about the interview, right? I mean, they already know you don't like the job, I guess, so they would probably assume that you're interviewing. So I'll add a comment, play jumping sound. Play worm jumping sound. And we can get rid of all these dividers from the disassembler. So it's kind of clear to us where all the boundaries are. Yeah, it makes sense. Got to take care of business. So we'll leave these for later because we don't know what these ZP zero page variables are. We'll come back to it. This is the PPU counter. Why did I call it that? These haven't really come up yet. Incremented after every PPU update, which I think happens every frame. I'm not sure. But anyway, it continuously increments as the game progresses. So that's 0 page address 11 or 11, as you can see over here. And that's this number here. So it just goes from 0 to FF and then back to 0 over and over again. So what this does is load that and then look at the low 4 bits. And if the low 4 bits are set, the low 4 bits are set, then it jumps. So that's a timing for the worm's walking sound. If we were to change this number, then the worm's walking sound would happen more or less frequently. I'm not sure about that subroutine right now. Let's look at our code down here. A424. So in our example, we do take this branch to A43F, so we skip this stuff. This worm's being dumb now. Okay, let's see what happens if we unconditionally skip this. Or I'm sorry, unconditionally take it. This branch happens if the flags are set for 0 or a positive number. So we'll do a load FF, which would be negative. And then that will go into the code no matter what. And we'll see what that does. See if we can tell what it does. So then instructions here, 8501. So we're going to change it to A9FF. That should do it. I'm going to set an execution breakpoint around that. Oh, I've actually got one. I'll load the state. Start again. Oh, whoops, I changed the wrong thing. Okay. I need to change the EOR instruction. Okay, so now we always go into this routine that we skip for this frame that we have recorded. I don't see any obvious difference there. So whatever that does is not that interesting right now. We'll just leave it for later. No obvious effect, I'm gonna say. Here, let's reduce the flicker here. Okay, so we're skipping all that, and this is here. So we go into a bunch of subroutines. Now let's take the same approach here right now and just start commenting them out. Putting no ops in there, and we'll see what happens. So we'll start with this one. D18B. So when we get rid of that one, the worm does not jump. So that does jumping. It may not though. It could be that this branch actually takes care of that. Let's see what happened in our sample. Did we go into all this code or did we branch? We branched. Meaning we didn't enter this code, so now we skipped over all this, went here. And I guess that's what happens when the worm doesn't jump, because if we skip that, then the worm jumping sound doesn't play. So keeping track of all this here. So what I'm interested in right now is this condition that makes the worm jump. That's why I'm switching back and forth from this to this other window, because D18B here, we do something and that determines whether the worm jumps or not. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the condition is. I'm not going to dig into it yet because I'm just trying to get an overview. But okay, so if the worm did not jump, then we skip over all this. We go here. If the worm is doing a new jump, then we do all this stuff. This is all worm jumping stuff. So presumably this all like calculates jump things. I've seen something similar to this before in the tank jumping code. Where does this branch go? 495. So probably all this stuff happens if the worm is in the air. So if the jump just happened, or we're continuing a previous jump. So I can test that hypothesis. I can set breakpoints at A4 or 4D. That may do it. Now let's let it sate and see if we hit that breakpoint. So we hit the breakpoint when the worm starts a new jump. The breakpoint's A44D. Did this probably wrong. Branch if not a new jump. Let's say branch if no jump or continuing a jump. And then this is a new jump. We're here if it's a new jump. Now let's change it. Let's set this to A446. See when we hit that breakpoint. We keep hitting it. Basically, we hit that breakpoint. The worm's on the ground. A446. On the ground, decide whether to jump. So then this A471 is likely like continuing a jump. It's like if the worm's in the air. Let's set a breakpoint there. Not exactly. I'm not sure what that is yet. It's like maybe deciding if it's possible for the worm to jump. I'm not sure. So I'll just put question marks there and come back to it. Okay, so now we know. Here's where we're deciding whether to jump on the ground. Here's where we're doing a new jump. Do we get no jump? Oh, no jumps away after all this stuff. A495. Okay. And that's when we're done positioning for the jump and we update the object position. Okay, so it appears to be all the velocity and position kind of updates. So I'm going to make a note of that. Now let's dig into this stuff some more. We know that that's a worm jumping sound. We know we've got the worm walking sound. Our jump code is right around here. Now this is labeled tank jump. Tank jump state. Because I noticed that this changes when you jump in the tank. Like when you're on the ground, it's one value, and then when you make a jump, it's another value. And the game tracks whether you're jumped that way, whether you're in the air. This could be general, so it could be the jump state for anybody. Temporary value, so anyone that jumps changes the jump state. That's what it's looking like it is. I'm not going to change it yet, but I'll make a note. Make jump state, maybe anyone's jump state. So this is probably an existing jump again, a 476. We get here from above. I'm thinking that's what that is. This routine adds whatever is in the A register to Y velocity. And whatever's in the X register to X velocity. So let's see if we can have some fun here. Let's triple this from 2 to 6. I'll just do it in the hex editor. We'll triple it from 2 to 6 and see if we can give the worm a higher jump. That's here, so changing this to 6. Now let's see how this affects the worm's jump. Okay, it gives him a tiny jump. It reduces his jump height. Jada, what's up? How are you? Big chill, and glad to hear that. I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Doing some ROM hacking on enemy movement code here in Blaster Master. Alright, so I'm gonna half this instead of doubling it. Actually, let's change it to 0 and see what happens. Okay, now the worm never falls. I didn't mean to take a save state there. Can I kill this guy? So it's not really the jump height. I mean, it is, but it's also the fall speed. Yeah, I need to redo my save state. So we change that from 2 to 1. This guy does big jumps and slow falls. Because when we add to the velocity number is down, points downward. So a higher velocity means falling faster. So that's why that happens. And then no adjustment to X velocity. So when he's in the air, he's not going to accelerate to the left or the right. Now what's all this? This is the velocity caps, so I think everyone's got a maximum velocity they can be on. That's probably what's happening here. Let's comment this routine real quick. See what happens. No obvious change there. Simple this. About metal machine. I didn't see where we set the X velocity so far, probably missed it. Passport came early, huh? Yeah, you might as well. That's coming up then, huh? Yeah, that's good. I bet you're looking forward to it, huh? And it's a great time of year to get out of here for a little bit. Hacking good. I'm looking into the worm code. The code for this particular enemy here. So this routine applies X velocity when the worm's in the air. That's why he's hung on that ledge there, because he's now in the air. And without this in place, he doesn't move to the left or right. I missed what does the ground velocity. It may be this stuff up here, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I bet. Are you making a lot of plans around it? Like scheduling stuff, or just gonna fly by the seat of your pants there? Everyone's got their own way of doing it. I don't like to schedule a lot of stuff. I'm going to get rid of these two velocity changes here and see what happens. Froze the game, but one of this was not what I tried to change. That's why. Yeah, stresses me out too to cram things in. A peanut farm. Do they make good peanut butter? I'm looking up Mount Pinatubo right now. An active volcano, huh? That could be pretty interesting. I bet there's interesting geology and stuff around there. Okay, I think with this, with those two instructions removed, it follows us too fast. Let's put them back. Never mind. It's always like that. I'm just making this up. So I still don't know what that does. This appears to be collision response. Response to taking damage, we can test that in a second. I've never been to a peanut farm. I actually just had to look up a picture of a peanut tree because I know I've seen them, but I couldn't recall what it looked like. Roots below ground. Yeah, you're not allergic, are you? I love peanuts. I mean, I really like most of nuts, peanuts included. And so it looks like this is the test for a collision response. And this is the collision response routine. But I'm not sure, we'll test it. So where did our X velocity update happen? I don't know yet. Where's our worm update routine? A3FF. We'll start from the beginning. I've been working on this tool metal machine that I'm finding pretty useful very useful for this actually, where I put all these trace logs for the emulator in a database and then I can look up stuff. Maybe that we don't set X velocity here, or don't change it. Like it may be just a constant thing, because the worm doesn't seem to have any acceleration. We can actually really test that or search for it. Because our routine, where is it? A3FF, so 12067. And this whole mess ends at A4CO9. A4C9, so that's record 12273. So we can find any memory accesses between those two instructions. And the address we're looking for is velocity X. Yeah, so we read the velocity, but we don't actually update it. So it's probably set when the enemy is initialized and just never changed. That's why I can't find it. So there may be a different... So I'm thinking the velocity does have to change when the worm turns around. There may be a different piece of code that handles that. Yeah, we can look into that. Let's go ahead and do that when I get back. I'm going to take a quick break. Then we'll do another trace log with the worm going back and forth a couple of times. Switching direction. So I'll take a couple of quick notes on what we learned here. A3FF is worm update. Maybe different code for worm flip. So I can search like this, Metal Machine. Like I can find all records where CPU is at the main loop, what I've labeled main loop as a symbol. It tells me where that stuff is, so then I can search for something within one frame. That's how I got started here, basically said. So find in one loop all the memory accesses for T object velocity X. And it gives us that list. So there's all our candidates for finding the worm. And I just went and investigated all those. Ended up being this one. So then do that again for that instruction. Find all records, find all instructions 100 before and 200 after. And then we get all that, so. And it's a trace log, so I can see what happened with the CPU and everything. So yeah, it's made things a lot better. Better way than using the debugger in a lot of situations. Alright, I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to take a quick break and then we're going to see if we can figure out what makes the worm turn around left and right. Be right back. I'm going to search through this file a little bit. What we're looking for may be around, kind of close by, I'm not sure. So Jason's update code's in the 9.5 range, I think. Be 9.5. The worm stuff could all be around the A range or so. Oh. A4 and A7. Let's use the debugger and set breakpoint, execution breakpoint between A000 and A. I don't know. AFFF, I guess. Let's just see what we hit with that. Well, I need a set condition there. Condition is we want to write to velocity. I don't remember how to do it in CE, how to write that conditions. I need to check that out real quick. Can I not do this? Maybe not. I can't. Maybe can't look for a write, but just restrict the program counter. Oh well. So I'll do what my plan was and take a trace log and then search that. So I want to get a trace when he's turning around, specifically. But I don't want too big of a trace because that takes a long time to make a database. So I'll call the log worm turn and I'll just advance it frame by frame until he turns around. Okay, that should be plenty. As the worm turns around. I need a few more entries for the playlist, I think. So I'll make the database. All right, now let's get in there. So kind of similarly, we're looking for velocity updates. Now let's look at how many frames we got actually. Not too many to search. Let's just search all of them at first, see what happens. And we just want writes, I think. Is that how we do it? Probably too many to cut. B and paste. I'm going to narrow it down first, probably. Although A433 is the only one that I see of interest, which I think is where we just were. All right, Mishras. Have a good rest. Thanks for coming by, and I'll see you tomorrow. Big Friday night stream. So this must be it. I must have missed this earlier. So let me see. We'll no-op this and see what happens. Okay. So yeah, if we, well, never mind. Although I think that happened because he was jumping. So there's different code for changing directions. If he's jumping versus on the ground, I believe. I mean, he's busted for sure. Yeah. So they're dumb worms now. They just go in one direction. Broke all the worms. Okay, so I wasn't able to get this to do anything earlier. I thought I would have noticed this, but it looks like this makes the worm turn around. So the worm knows when Jason's on the left or right and turns around in response to that. And it's not immediately obvious to me how this kind of figures that out, but there are these variables here, zero pitch variables, that I don't understand yet. I don't know what their purpose is, so they may have something to do with that. I'm not sure. So this is the window here. Let's search for records in between these two places and look at them. You'll find CPU program counter between A428, A43D. Okay, so this is the turn because we've got several frames. And 74322, 74339. That's all in one frame. All in this frame. And I only, in the trace log, only recorded one turn. So this is definitely the turn. Oh. Reverse worm's direction. Turn that worm around. All right, so this is the direction. It's doing the check to see if it should turn here. Big brain time, apparently. I'm not sure how we get here. As we do this load, and then it looks like we would always branch. I'm setting a breakpoint. Oh no, we load the X. Whatever's in that zero pitch variable. Okay, never mind. So yeah, this checks to see which direction the worm's going to go in, and then if it's going to the right, then it skips this code, and then if it's going to the left, then it ends up here and reverses velocity. Or negates it, I guess, is a better way to say that. So this is probably the velocity constant. OF. So let's double this approximately and see if we can get a fast worm. Of course, I'm not going to do that there. I'm just going to do it in the hex editor. Fast forward worm, yes. Okay, so I need to undo that breakpoint. Alright, so now we got nightmare worms. So they don't quite work without maybe changing the way they turn around. Also, their initial velocity gets set wrong because you actually have to change that in 2 places. The initial velocity is set elsewhere. But this is cool. We could make Murik some nightmare worms. So this is the velocity constant. So this chunk of code decides whether worm goes left or right. So this reveals maybe a little more about these variables. This may... O402 and O403. These are probably... yeah, these are probably JSON's. JSON's X and Y. So I'm now guessing that this is probably used by all the enemy's code to know where JSON is. Like if JSON is to the left or to the right of them. It's used in a lot of places. So if that's the case, that's a pretty big find. That'll show us a lot of stuff. So we could make the worm run away from Jason by changing that from branch plus to branch minus. I'm going to try it just for fun. Of course, then they hit the wall and nothing happens. He does turn around eventually. So we learned a lot about the worms here. There's a few unanswered questions. There's still some ZP variables that we've not figured out yet. What is 1-3? Oh, it's a counter. Okay. We don't know what 5-2 is. Let's look into this a bit. This could be pseudo-random number generation, like some form of a linear feedback shift register. It does some stuff with 1-3 and then stores the result in 1-3. This wouldn't always happen. So this would only happen when the velocity changes, I believe. Yeah, this would only get called when the velocity changes, and the velocity only changes when the worm is responding to Jason's movement, which is influenced by the player. So what I think this is generating randomness by using the player's actions. So this counter just counts linearly up from 0 to FF and then back to 0, just rolls over. This counter 1, 3. So let's actually just take a look at this. Watch it. And we'll slow the emulator down. Real slow, probably. The counter counts up, but there are a few things that cause it to change its value. And it looks like this is one of those things. And it also shuffles when at a fixed interval, like a regular interval, with a PPU counter, when that hits a certain value. Let's just search all our assembly files and see where all the locations happen. The label is called LF499. .asm files only. And there's a lot of occurrences, so let's just list the files. And let's exclude the build directory. Okay. They're all in bank 6 and bank 7. And bank 7's is only here. So this is a very cool find. Because this tells us a whole lot about the RNG of the game. And because it looks like the RNG is seeded, influenced by our movement and players' movement. It kind of suggests, because all the occurrences, like there's just the one in bank 7 that happens in response to PPU counter hitting a certain value. Everything else is in bank 6. So that probably means all the enemy update code is in bank 6. Which is also really helpful. So if we want to do this for more enemies, we kind of know exactly where to look here. So it's a really good find. I'm excited about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to do. Not really. This is a pretty productive session, I think. If we want to make some nightmare worms, fast worms, we can do that. If we want to study the RNG of the game, we can now do that. I'm pretty tired, so let's get out of here. Let's head over to Shaddy. He raided us the other day, doing some Z1. Thanks everyone for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to be doing yet for sure. We may be doing some Zelda 1. But we'll find out. Have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow.
Oh, hi. Nice. That girl for them. We should have went and got upstabbed.